All right, so here's the thing. I have noticed that there's been a few people here and there that always show up these days and are like, hey, I just picked up this game, I'm new, I don't know who to play, I don't know what to do in this game. Or they're like, oh, I'm in the lower ranks and somehow I'm fighting people who have like 3,000 matches. What do I do? How can I win this? Blah, blah, blah. So I've decided that because of this, I would make a video, or at least I would try to do my best to make a video about, you know, a guide for new players so that they can catch up to everybody else who's been playing this game for quite a while now. Of course, it's not a guide on it's not a proper guide for beginners. It's not a proper guide on how to win in this game, but it's at least giving you some tools to work with when you start playing the game for the first time. Because this game, if you haven't noticed, is almost 1 year old. It came out in December last year, so we're almost in December again, and you know, it's been out for a while, so the experience is probably going to be, for the most part, you fighting a bunch of people who already have played the game for a while now. Anyways, big disclaimer is that I'm not a top player, I'm not a pro, I have never been in a tournament. Yes, I'm able to fight in master rank here and there, but it's not exactly that I'm like super good. So I might not be the best person for this, I might not be the best person at telling you what to do. So feel free to look around for more information on how to play the game. There's a lot of things that you can actually look at. For example, Diaphone, who's actually a top player, has made several guides and talked about a lot of characters, and he actually has a beginner's guide that is actually pretty decent and pretty short in general on how to play the game. So feel free to give a look when it comes to that. If you want to find a pretty decent community where you have a bunch of people who are ready to help you play together and actually stream and stuff like that, you have someone called Brick. Brick is actually a pretty good player too, who has been around for this game, and he's been making a lot of content for it. He uploads like videos 3 times a week or so, or 3 times a day basically. And he streams pretty frequently as well. He also gives a lot of advices to new players, makes tournaments for them and stuff like that, so people can learn and see where they're at, see the progress. Actually very cool dude, so give him also a check. So anyways, with that being said, like I said, I'm not the best one for this, but I'll try my best. So let's get into the video. So first thing first, we're gonna have a lot of chapters in this video. So if I'm talking about things and I'm rambling about something that you do not care about whatsoever, feel free to skip through the video. I will not hold you on that, but I would still recommend listening to the whole thing, because my goal here is not necessarily to help you just win everything. It's not my goal. My goal is to make sure that you give this game a decent try, give it a shot, because like I said, it's a catch-up guide. It's not necessarily for people who are brand new to fighting or people who are super new or stuff like that, but at least I want people to have a decent idea of the experience of the game, you know, things like that. Anyways, so first thing first, let's go to the menus and we'll check the options here. System settings, you want to check this out. You have a bunch of options here that you have to look at, but the TLDR is you have access to display name, network and everything. You want to leave that the way it should be, or at least set it to your preferences. Camera speed and stuff like that, don't care about that. Button display, you really want this to be stuck on LMHU, because these are the notations of the game. Of course, you do not want to have any information that makes it difficult for you to understand, especially when people explain stuff to you. Crossplay on, this is for censorship basically. You leave it at original if you want the uncensored version, because some characters show a little bit too much skin sometimes or something. I know what I'm here for, so I leave it on original. Anyways, battle settings is also pretty important. You have access to a bunch of things here, but the most important thing here is to go to the autosave tab. Make sure that your ranked matches are saved, because these are actually pretty important too. The replay of this game might not be as fancy as something, say like Tekken, where you have access to your, you know, a replay takeover, but it's still very valuable to actually watch replays in this game. Now we can talk about the game itself. So let's go to the training mode, and here we're going to learn a bunch of things. All right, you have this gigantic character grid. Right here we have 34 characters so far. The game will release with like 28 characters base, so there's only 6 characters that you will not have. Obviously, the preferable answer when it comes to who to pick will always be pick the character that you vibe with, pick the one that is actually appealing to you, the one that is most fun or whatever. But I also believe that there are people who do not get into games like that. It's not that easy for everybody, and sometimes the first character that you want to play is not always the best character for you to learn the game. For the sake of the video, I'm just going to play Gran. From this little menu here, you can see you have colors and everything. You also have access to weapon skins that you can change here. You can change your costume, you know, pretty cool stuff. And here you can also choose to immediately have technical inputs on or off. You can change that whenever you want, but you also have access to it in the character select. All right, so here we are in the game. So this game is really cool. There's a lot of things that you have to learn, but they will carry on pretty easily per character, and you will just have to change a couple things here and there if you want to learn different characters. Of course, there's a certain level of consistency that the game requires you to have, but we're not here to talk about that yet. Let's talk about the overall things that are important if you're new to the game and if you actually want to learn how to do things and how to pretty much understand the pace of a fight. But first of all, we'll talk about the training mode, because this is probably the most important resource that you have access to if you want to improve in this game. So the training mode is basically your big tutorial mode. You have access to so much tools in here, and you can learn everything at your own pace. You do not have to keep bashing your head against the wall, or you don't have to like retain all of the information in a single session, which is a problem that a lot of fighting games have, in my opinion. This game actually doesn't have this problem because it lets you play or learn at your own pace. So if you press start, and down there you see some little menus there. It says glossary, hide menu, and close. If you press square, you have access to the glossary. The glossary has pretty much everything you need to know about the game. So it gives you access to a lot of things: victory condition, versus mode action, cooldown, because this game has a cooldown system and it explains this to you here, skill icons, bravery points, one of the most important mechanics that you have to learn about in this game. Gives you access to all this information here. Another piece of tutorial aspect that you really want to dig into is here, situational training. So from the training menu, you go to main and you click on situational training. Here you have access to a lot of tutorials. Shows you character movement, crossover and evades, avoids, blah blah blah. Raging strike, very important mechanic that you have to learn. Raging chain, brave counter. I've done these tutorials because they are important and they actually give you a bunch of information. Okay, finally, the last thing about the little tutorial things that you want to learn, of course, you go to character guide. This is where you have access to your move list. Right here they show you mostly the simple inputs, but by pressing square you have access to the motion inputs as well. Same thing for this tab. They show you all the meter options of your character. You press square again and you have access to this. And then on the other tab they give you character explanation, which is basically a brief explanation of what the characters want to do. And if you press square, they actually show you some options that you can do at different ranges. Like if you switch through the things here, at close range you can do crouching medium for Gran, which is really strong because it's plus on block. You can do his close AV, which is also really good for strike throw options. And you can do his close range. At range you have access to these 3 tools, right? And then on defense you have the DP and you have your 2H for your anti-airs, right? So they give you small explanations like that. And then finally you have basic combos, which is basically your combo training. You press X for each combo and then you decide if you want to see, right? And there you go. So they give you all of that, all of these resources. Please use these resources. Now that we talked about all of this, I think it's important to actually define what Granblue is and what kind of game it actually is, right? So Granblue versus is a grounded footsies strike throw game. You want to be on the ground, that means you don't want to be in the air. It's also an anime game, so they have a lot of anime stuff in here, right, that you want to actually use as much as you can. And because it's a grounded footsie game, it's going to be strike throw heavy. Strike throw means that you're going to have to use your throw as much as possible, represent it as much as you can, because it's actually a good threat. So pretty much every character in this game is kind of trying to play strike throw. Even some of the zoners would like to play strike throw. Of course, not the preferable position, but there's a lot of things that we can talk about when it comes to zoners in this game. But we're not going to talk about all that. But TLDR is just that most characters in this game try to represent throw as much as they can. And strike is really powerful as well. Like, hitting the opponent in this game is so goddamn strong. It is so powerful. So overall, the offense and defense and the neutral in the game will be determined by a couple things that I think is important to also take note of. Let's start talking about neutral first of all. So neutral in this game is very important. For a game that is so footsie based, they really like neutral skips. This game love skipping neutral. So a lot of people dislike that aspect of the game naturally, and understandably so, because personally I also wish that there was a bit less neutral skips, but it's kind of the nature of the game. And a lot of time it will be determined, your enjoyment of this game will be determined by your ability to, one, deal with the neutral skips, or if you do not mind them at all, basically, right? So for example, a big mechanic in this game, and probably one of the most important mechanics, is this one. This is the mechanic that filters everybody, basically. And I say filter as if it's like a skill issue from the part, but it's really part of your, it really comes down to, do you enjoy this part of the game or no, right? Personally, I don't mind, and there are other aspects of the game that I like enough to say that I really love this game, right? But I can see why people do not like this mechanic. So Dashlight, right? You may have heard about it. It's called Dashlight, or 66L, if you will. So this mechanic is basically a universal mechanic that every character has access to. The properties of this move are pretty much universal and the same. You have to understand this mechanic if you want to play the neutral of the game. The neutral, it's also pretty much the range of neutral is also pretty much determined by Dashlight. So this range at round start is the optimal range to be in for most characters. So once again, this range is basically where you do everything, right? And if you really don't know what to do at this range because the opponent has some buttons, or they have a certain play style that is really in your face, trying to do all kinds of things to you, you can always backdash. And backdash at this range is really good against something like Dashlight, because people will just mash if they do Dashlight and you can easily punish them. Now overall, when it comes to neutral, because of all the things that I've said, because of every option that you have access to, the movement becomes also very important to understand. And the movement in this game, because you have access to your dash macro, it becomes a mix of threat and also bait. So for example, if you're here and you kind of want to control this area by doing stuff like this, because by running you basically want your opponent to whiff something or to do all kinds of things. Now what is important to know is that you cannot dash block in this game. So running too close to the opponent can be scary, because they can just jab you out of your run. You have a little bit of recovery in between the cycles. There's a little bit of a recovery in between that, so they can actually just jab you and then do something else. So you do not want to do that too close to the opponent. But around here is actually nice, because this is where you can easily start your momentum for Dashlight and just go in. So the movement, a lot of movement in the game becomes like this very easily. Another general rule to understand too is that there are lots and lots of full screen neutral skip tools that are plus or safe on block, and you will have to learn all of this. A lot of them will feel extremely unfair and stupid, and I don't fault you for this. It's not your fault to think about it, because it is stupid. It is stupid and broken, but it's actually kind of fair for some reason. It's the type of game that you will be playing. So for example, you have this character, or you have like this character, right? So Namaya, for example, if you see her do this, +4. This is a full screen invincible move. You are not going to hit her at the startup of this move, so she can use it as a throw bait as well, and it's going to fuck you up like that. So if she's full screen over here and you see her over there like this, full screen +4. She can also do it in the air, like this. So again, good luck when it comes to dealing with stuff like this. The thing that you can do, there's always something that you can do about each of these moves. Lucilius has the same thing, right? +4 as well. You can do the same thing. A lot of these moves, you can spot dodge them. You can do all kinds of things against them, but it's not recommended. You have to challenge some of these moves. So for example, for Namaya, or for Lucilius here, if he does that, right, you can challenge it. Right, so you can always have something that you can do about that, but you have to know what you must do. This is something that will always beat you if you're new to the game, because you do not know the game, you do not know the characters. But slowly and surely you will see a lot of these moves being used, and you will start to, you have to figure out, what can I do about it? You always have the question to ask, what can I do about it? This is the good thing about this game, is that there are no situations necessarily where you are out of options. You can always do something about a certain situation. Regardless of how strong characters are or how strong they're considered to be, don't look at the tier list. Focus on, how do I deal with this? How do I stop this? How do I slow my opponent down? How do I do what I want to do? How do I stop them from doing these stupid options? How do I look out for things? And what is the safe range? Again, the red zone, the thing that you do not want to be in, the place where you don't want to be in, the place that you want to control. Really important stuff. Okay, so offense. What do you want from offense? Offense, for the most part, when you're finally close to the opponent, this is where you really want to represent your throw. But in order to represent that throw, you also need to accept the fact that 1, the opponent is going to take it. 2, the opponent might not want to guess at all on defense, so they will throw things like DPs, or they will throw things like also brave counter, all kinds of things like that, right? So you have to take that in consideration on your offense. Your offense is not always the fact that you are going to hit the opponent. Your offense also comes with the idea that you are going to force the opponent to make a choice and use some type of resource. It matters a lot, especially if you're confident in your ability to win neutral again. So in a situation where I'm in the opponent's face like this, I can actually choose to just represent my throw on the second hit here, or I can choose to just go for another one. But the opponent might not want to guess, and they might do this. Now if that happens and I'm noticing the opponent is very quick at pressing brave counter, I can start having more layers on the offense and start implementing things like this, right? So you can do something like this, for example, but I would not recommend doing that when you're new, because you're just new. So just do this and block, you know, just do this and walk back. It's actually good enough for you to see what the opponent is doing. So there are different ways to actually play the strike throw game. First of all, your layer 1 offense can be something like this, right? Stagger pressure. The thing with this type of offense, and I'm also talking about this for the defender if you're new and somebody's doing this to you, the weakest part of this offense is the fact that you have gaps in between and you're dashing. Because of this, the opponent can actually see the gaps, and if you do it too much, they can read into your the style of offense that you are trying to apply. The most important thing here, if you're on the defense, is that you do not want to necessarily guess. You do not want to guess. You want to do something because you know that the opponent is going to do it. So for example, I fought many people who like to do this type of offense, and I would take this for a little bit, but eventually if they do something like this again, I'm actually going to match, because I know they're just going to run. Especially if they do 1-2, I know they're going to run. If they do 1-2, they have to run, and then at this point I'm just going to swing with like a 2M or something like that on defense. The other type of offense that you can go for, and the most easy one, is this, right? Is jab throw. Jab throw is also really good because you're basically putting throw as your second option here. People can take throw easily because they are mashing as well on defense. So for example, right, so mashing beats that option in those two ways possible, because they are micro dashing and because you can also beat a throw by taking with an attack button in this game. But by pressing the attack button like this, now I'm at disadvantage. I'm -6. The only way for me to beat that throw and have some kind of even situation is that I need to press the throw button. Now here's the thing too about beating a throw. Throw taking is very important in this game, but it has also a pretty big weakness, which is giving an information to the opponent, and that's where you actually want to exploit the strike throw a lot more. So this is an additional layer to strike throw that you need to understand, is that even if you beat a throw, you might have given away a vital information to the opponent. For example, if my opponent is doing this and they tech with the attack button, all right, so if I notice my opponent is teching with, let's say, an attack button like that because they want to beat my, I don't know, my dashing, my micro dashing into jabs, or my micro dashing into throw, and they're taking with the attack button, the thing that they gave away is the fact that they are mashing. And the reason why this is important is because while they managed to beat my throw, sure, now I can actually use this information to my advantage by using another option that will give me a big punish. So for example, I can do this. See, now you have access to this big red counter. Now let's say they actually beat your throw by using the throw button, right? Like this. What will happen is the other information that you have is that the opponent likes to just press throw. So the strike throw now becomes different, and the other option to beat this, to actually deal with this new information that you get, is that you can throw bait, right? Now you can do something like this, and this becomes a very powerful throw bait, because you can do like, there you go. Again, you have access to a lot of different things like that. Right, so another situation where you can actually beat the opponent. So on defense, if you're at the wall and the opponent is constantly pushing on you like this, and they have plus frames and they keep using the plus frames and everything, it becomes really difficult to deal with anything. So because of this, and because of the strike throw and the threat of strike throw, you do not always want to be blocking. Sometimes you just want to get out of a situation because it's really difficult to deal with whatever the opponent is trying to do. Just use it. Just use Brave Counter if you do not want to guess. If you think that you're not capable of dealing with this type of pressure yet, please Brave Counter. Do not die with 3 BPs. Do not die with 3 bravery points and say, oh my god, I cannot deal with this. It would be so unfortunate to just lose a round if you haven't used your BPs. I see so many people up to the S++ ranks who do not use the Brave Counters whatsoever. They do not want to, they actually just let me go through. Don't let people get in. Use your stuff. Brave Counter is not the only resource that you can use, because again, like I mentioned, if you have a DP, feel free to use it. So every character basically has this. Everyone, you are free to use it. It takes 50%, of course, and unfortunately DPs do not refund meters, or at least fortunately, thank god. But yeah, ultimate DPs will not refund meter, but it is something that you can use, and I would also recommend using that. Do not shy away from the options that are given to you. Okay, final thing that we have to learn here are combos. So combos are pretty standard in this game. They're not very fancy in general. Some characters can have fancy combo and fun little things that they can do in the middle of those combos, but there's generally a pretty, you know, simple skeleton to combos overall. So for example, let's say a very basic combo that you should always try to do is something like this. There you go. So that's your basic combo. It's honestly just normal into special into normal into special into normal into maybe super or something like that. It's very linear when it comes to combos. That's the basic skeleton. Now, staple combos across the board, there are things that pretty much every character can do. For example, dash light into stuff. So dash light, once again, right, the most important tool in the game. So when you land this move, you have a basic combo for every character, which is pretty much, so that's basically it, right? Everybody has something like this that they want to do, every single character. So dash light, far light, special, kind of the basic stuff, right? Even Beelzebub can do the same. All right, every character has this thing that they want to do. So that's a very standard thing that you will see a lot of time. So keep that in mind. You also have your easy confirm, you know, hit confirm combo. Like I mentioned, once again, Raging Strike, your favorite tool. Every time. This is your go-to on, oh my god, I landed a hit on an opponent, I punish them or something like that. I need to confirm into a big combo. You're not sure what's going on, you're not sure you're gonna land a combo, Raging Strike. At the risk of missing out an opportunity, like maybe you're not sure of the range, maybe this is actually going to be a close range far light or close range light or close range medium or something, you're not sure, doesn't matter, just throw it. It's better to throw it than missing it out, basically, is what I'm saying. So that's another very basic combo that you can learn for every character. Another thing that is super important to learn, and this is probably your most important combo, like regardless of the character that you play, this is something that you want to do with every character, and that matters. It is your anti-air combo. Every character needs to have some kind of anti-air combo. Some characters have better anti-air combos than others, but no matter what character you play, you need to have a combo, an anti-air combo that leads into something or gives you a situation that you like. So for example, and there you go. This is probably the most important thing that you have to learn, because anti-airing dissuades the opponent from doing anything in the air. It literally removes an option from them because of the threat. Not every character has a good anti-air combo. For example, Beelzebub here doesn't have the best one. It's not exactly a great anti-air combo for him, but he also has access to some threatening stuff whenever it comes to his anti-air. And this is kind of a cross-up and you might not see it. So some people have a tendency to let their guard down, even though in this game you can block with the block button and have cross-up protection. A lot of times in a situation like that, you will not expect that to be a thing, and you get Beelzebub takes advantage of that. Fake cross-up, who cares? Take advantage of it and just win, you know? So it's part of the knowledge checks that exist in the game. And depending on the character, once again, the anti-air combo is not always going to be the best one, but you always need to get something out of your anti-air combo, regardless of what it is, right? For Beelzebub, it's actually pretty important for him to get this sometimes. Because you can really hit the opponent with something like this and it puts you in a really good situation. So quick summary of everything is that your neutral plays around this range. You want to stay out of the range of Dashlight, while you also want to have a range where you can threaten the opponent with Dashlight, right? You also want to be able to control this space because you want to see if the opponent goes for a big button so you can whiff punish them. You want to be able to anti-air. You want to be able to react to even something like an ultimate skill that they throw randomly in neutral, like with a spot dodge or something, or depending on the character that you fight, like we mentioned, we have knowledge checks. If somebody does a teleport, you want to be able to react and hit them with something heavy. So neutral is very, very, very important, and you have to understand how to fight against Dashlight as much as you can. It will really, really revolve around your enjoyment of the neutral. Otherwise, good luck enjoying this game, because you will see a lot of Dashlight and a lot of neutral skips. Offense can be really ambiguous. People can go for multiple options, but the most important thing when it comes to offense is that you have to get information on your opponent as much as possible. So represent your throw, because that's the main threat of your offense. Defense can be ambiguous too, but you have strong tools to make sure the opponent actually doesn't threaten you too much. You have brave counter, you have DPs, you have some jabs here and there, you have sweeps too. Some characters have really good sweeps for defense and stuff like that, so representing those moves is actually important. But you also have to accept the fact that you will get wrong sometimes and you will lose the fight, but you have to figure out what would be good in that situation. For that reason, it is always good to ask around, hey, what could I have done in this situation? What can I do to get better? Like, there's a lot of people who are willing to help, so don't hesitate on asking around how you can deal with some pressure situation, right? If you're on defense. Your resources, make sure to always use them. Make sure to not die on 3 bravery points. Use your bravery points always, as much as you can. Confirm with your raging strike, confirm with your raging strike, raging chain. Do your brave counter, don't hesitate on that. Use your ultimate skills as much as possible, even in the neutral. Use the ones that are actually good, like ultimate fireballs are always reliable. You can always just throw them around. Sometimes they're also good if you just woke up from full screen and then your opponent is trying to throw a fireball. You can contest that fireball by just throwing this around, and it's going to be good. So do not hesitate. It's pretty much the whole structure. That's everything that we have to learn about this game. So with that being said, I'll now send you off. So thank you all so much for watching. I hope my rambling was somewhat clear. This has been a 2 hours session of just rambling. I will trim it down to I guess I'll try to trim it down to like 20 minutes, but we'll see. So thank you all so much for watching. We'll see each other in the next video. Let me know if there's anything that you didn't understand and I can clarify it as much as I can. I'll do my best. So with that being said, I'll be out now. Thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.